Hello, and welcome to Women in Workforce. I'm Carrie Rosingana, and I'm the CEO at Capital Area Michigan Works, and we serve the greater Lansing region of Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton counties. I'll be your host today as we bring together women in positions of leadership to shine a spotlight on their workforce impacts and also to address and discuss the disparities and challenges that are unique to women in the workforce.
Hi, y'all, and I'm Kate Snyder. I'm the CEO of Piper & Gold Public Relations here in Michigan, and I get to join Carrie each episode as co-host. And we're really excited to be back for our second season, hosting this platform for discussion and a place where we can really have conversations about these disparities that women face professionally, as well as talk about some of the ways that things outside of the workplace may affect us.
So every episode that we host, we have a roundtable style discussion to really make sure that we're connecting with those fellow leaders and hearing about their experiences. And today we're gathered at Risky Studios in East Lansing, Michigan, and we're really grateful that you joined us today.
So let's get started. Are you ready?
Ready.
So excited for our guests today on this couch. Because when we get a group of awesome female leaders together, our intros alone could fill a whole episode, which is why we're going to ask you to introduce yourselves by summing up your bio in just a sentence, okay? But then we're also going to ask you to tell us what's behind the bio. So what is it that you want people to know or understand about you and what you do that we wouldn't read in your bio?
So I'll give you kind of an example just to get you started. So I gave my title. My title to me really just boils down to my role is to help make sure my team is supported and they have the resources that they need. And I believe in servant leadership, which means I'm giving them what they need to be successful. My behind the scenes is I'm a mom of one. I have been married for over 20 years to my high school sweetheart, and my family is every bit as important to me as my career. But I do take a lot of pride in what I do and the impacts that we make in the community, and I'm proud to be able to wear multiple titles. Yeah. Kate, how about you?
Okay, so my bio is that I try to help utilize my skills and the skills of those around me to really focus on breaking down the systems that hurt people through oppression and injustice. I have a lot of skills in the communications arena, so that's the area that I've chosen to focus and bring together people to make a difference in that place. And behind the bio, I think that sensation of for better, for worse, that sensation of we're never done, right? Like when you work in trying to support people who have traditionally been excluded or oppressed, you're never done. And that translates into my personal life. So I try to channel it in ways that are not detrimental to my own mental health, but that are productive. And so I have an awesome child that I really genuinely enjoy spending time with. I love to garden and create. I love to make things with my hands. So that just like never quite done translates over behind my bio.
That's really good, Kate. So we're going to introduce our guests and ask you to kind of follow the same exercise that we've just done. And I get to be first to introduce our first guest. And our first guest, who is a longtime friend and a consummate workforce development pro, is Marcia Black-Watson. And she is the director of the Michigan Energy Workforce Development Consortium, which we know is a mouthful. And Marcia and I served together on that for many years before she became director. So Marcia, you get to be the first. What's your bio and behind the bio?
Thank you, Carrie. And I'm so excited to be here today and to be in this discussion. But if I had to sum up my bio in one sentence, it would be an uncharted course that has resulted in a passion for workforce development across the state.
Right.
And it truly has been uncharted. And so I behind the scenes, what you will not read in my bio is, like you, Carrie, I am a family person. I've been married for 42 years to the same guy, Joel, and we have 2 wonderful daughters, Nyshell, who you'll meet in just a moment, as well as Mariah. So we have 2 adult daughters, and our family life is very important, but my career has also been very important. And when I looked at that narrative for my bio, it really got me to thinking. And what's really, really important about my career. Now, let me just tell you, I'm in the 3rd chapter of my career.
You are.
3rd chapter. And I'm so blessed and so proud to be in the 3rd chapter. I started out, you're working different jobs in different industries and trying to figure out where your niche is. And then I got into workforce development. And so I was able to, a couple of years, sort of retire from state government, where I have been for 34 years in workforce development. And so now I'm serving as the director of MEWDC. I'm so blessed to have 3 chapters. But what has been really important is the individuals that I have literally come across all these years. I mean, I've literally been in the workplace for 46 years. I did start in high school. Let's
You
just be
sure
clear.
did.
I
sure
started
did.
in high school as a co-op student.
There you go.
But I've come across so many individuals. I've had so many colleagues, co-workers. I've worked for many. I've had individuals that have worked on my teams and in my offices. And at the end of the day, it's been about the impact that I have had in working with individuals and the legacy. You all will see when you get to be my age, legacy means a lot. And legacy doesn't just mean what you leave for your children or even your grandchildren. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren. But it's also about how individuals remember you. And so I have had a number of individuals that have said, because we've worked together, I've learned so much. And I've seen individuals go on to, maybe they started in an office that I was in, and they've gone on to national positions. So proud. I've had individuals in private life that said, so as women, we need to know that we're being watched.
Always.
And they have said, I have watched you. I have watched you. And I've seen how you've been a mother, a wife, how you've worked your career. You've been in the community. And I've tried to do some of the things that you've done. So that legacy really means a lot. That's behind my bio.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've definitely been impacted by you with some of the things you mentioned.
Carrie.
So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%. And Marcia, what you were saying about kind of like how we sort of stumble our ways into workforce. This whole series, Women in Workforce, right, is to talk about these disparities we face in the workforce, the fact that, we do or should make up half of the workforce, and yet, it's so complicated. But it's not something that, you don't go to school to become a workforce development professional.
But we should make that a career pathway.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so much of the learning you get are certifications that you get afterward or on the job training. And for those that don't know, I spent almost a decade of my career at Capital Area Michigan Works working in workforce development and talent development. And since it's, become really a specialty area for Piper and Golden, our agency. And when you start to get people onto this couch and talk about workforce, it's so integral to everyone. Michelle works in workforce development.
Right.
You're an entrepreneur. You create jobs. It is a part of everyone in the economy's life, whether it's a part of their job responsibility or not. And and yet we don't know it's a thing until we get out there into the workforce.
Yeah.
And that is a travesty.
It really is.
And maybe an opportunity as well.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yep.
Carrie, the eternal optimist.
Always.
I'm over here like, burn it all down.
That's why we're a good balance.
And then Carrie's like, we have this opportunity. Maybe don't set things on fire. Okay. So, but with that, I get to introduce our next guest. So pleased to introduce you to Nyshell Lawrence. She is the creator of Socialight Society, which is an independent bookshop celebrating Black women and Black literature here in the Lansing, Michigan area. If you have not been in, strongly encourage you to go visit and make a road trip to town. She has never led me astray on any book that you've recommended for me, exactly what I needed. And I've also gotten many stocking stuffer and gift. Wonderful place to be, but also goes so much further beyond the products that you sell. So can you share with us a little bit, Nyshell, about your one sentence bio and what's behind that?
Absolutely. So thank you. I am Nyshell Lawrence, again, the creator of Socialight Society. In Socialight Society, we really make it a big deal to celebrate Black women and celebrate Black literature and make space to uplift voices who are often marginalized that you won't always see out in mainstream media. Behind that bio,
Yes.
you would learn that I am Marcia's daughter.
I love it so much.
I'm Bertha's granddaughter. I'm Velma's great-granddaughter. I come from a lineage of women who have really paved the way for me to be able to do what I do. I'm also a wife, and I am raising 4 daughters between the ages of 6 and 17. And so, you know, how we were talking about legacy earlier, really building, working to build a legacy for them. So not only am I out in the community trying to celebrate Black women and make space for Black women, but showing my daughters that they are capable of doing whatever it is that they put their mind to. And if they have a dream and they have a vision, then they can go out and do it. No matter what the circumstances are, there's nothing that can stop you. So I think my behind the bio, a big part of that is family, and my children are still young, so they take up all of my time outside of,
As they do.
I feel you.
all of my time outside of the bookshop. And so yeah, that's really big for me.
I have to tell you, watching your mom's face as you were talking, I know. I mean, I'm an emotional
What was she doing?
empath. You could just see the pride that she has in you as her daughter, and hearing you reference your family history. I got chills because that's something I feel very connected to, and I have a young daughter, and I want to create that sort of legacy with my family too. And to hear you both voice that, Kate, you're actually a little teary-eyed.
I am, because I know, because like
That takes a lot sometimes.
it takes so much. There are so many medications that are tamping that down. That usually
I know all about that.
challenging
I know
for
all
that
about
to
that.
come out of my eyeballs.
Yes.
But like, yeah, watching the two of you, but then also I'm starting to tear up because I know that, you know, Eleanor Kathleen is named after, among others, one of her grandmothers, and I know your connection. Like, you know, Carrie and I have been friends for 25 plus years and colleagues, you know, for much of that time. And so like I've met and heard about not only your mom and your sister, but your aunt and your grandma, and like that legacy that does mean so much to you. So like it was getting me like knowing about, I've met them. I've had the chance to, you know, some of them, and heard a lot about others. So.
But that legacy is friendship too. So I do have to note too, Eleanor Kathleen is
Don't do
Kate's
it.
name too.
Don't do it.
And so not only is she named after my husband's grandmother,
God.
but also the legacy of friendship there
I
too,
love
right?
it.
Women
Don't do it.
honoring
I love
women
it.
is
It's the
a
first
huge
time you've
thing.
actually gotten me on this
Yeah,
dang
you know,
show.
it was bound to happen eventually.
Eventually.
so
It had to be Eleanor Kathleen.
Yeah,
I kind of did it to myself.
you
but-
did.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll let
Also her
Kate.
grandma.
Yep,
Also
we'll
her
let
grandma.
Kate compose herself, and I will.
Snap, y'all.
And I get to introduce our final guest today, who is Michele Strasz, a longtime friend and the director of the Capital Area College Access Network. Michele, I would love to hear about your bio and behind the bio.
Yeah, so I am a lifelong child advocate. Started my career in public policy when I was in college, doing an internship, and continued in every kind of role you could think of in public policy and advocacy for children and families. And at the core of my philosophy and values are how do we improve the world so that children can be children and be healthy and thrive in their families. So that really drives me, and it's driven me to every job I've ever had. And the behind the scenes bio is that I am a one of 3 daughters, but I had 2 sons, and so I had to learn how to be in a family of men.
It's a little different, probably.
A little different. But it was really important to me to raise sons who understood just the partnership between men and women in relationship, in family, and in the workforce. And my sons are now adults and both thriving in their respective careers and lives. And I look forward, my son's getting married soon. I look forward to whatever the future is for him and his growing family down the road, and passing along my wisdom, hopefully, to another generation of advocates and people who just want to make a difference in the world.
You are a change agent, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And on so many different levels, because not only a change agent in regard to, as you said, like advocacy, but also the individual students that are impacted by CapCan, because not a lot of people necessarily understand what the college access networks are throughout the state, but that really important role they play in ensuring that first generation, low income and students of color have support to overcome the barriers that have been placed into their way to make it to college and to stay in college. And so both on that colleague level, but also on like each of the individual students and the families and that legacy that goes down from there.
Yeah, that work that we do out in the community is really what grounds me, and I'm sure my team of young AmeriCorps members who are giving service to the community, and understanding that their voices are important, both in terms of sharing their experiences, first generation students to future generation students, but also that those young people who maybe don't have the support at home or at school to pursue what they really care about and are passionate about, that they have the skills to use their voices to advocate for themselves as they pick what they decide to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
May I go back to how Michele described your role in raising your sons? And workforce development is so multifaceted. And I love how you talked about how you prepared your sons for partnerships, for their world of work, and you look forward to them getting married. And there's such a role. I have worked with a number of programs and initiatives to build talent pipelines, but it really starts at home. And so I just love the way you talked about that. And oftentimes that is missed about the role of the home, of literally building our workforce and helping to start those talent pipelines and getting our children to think about what they want to do for their careers and all the options that are available. So I just love the way you described that about you raising your sons and having the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And I think coupled with that exploration, right? We need to help our kids explore who they are, but also what is available around them.
Yeah.
And not limit them in that way.
That's right.
And we don't, I also have a son, and so that responsibility of raising a blue-eyed, blonde, white male from a background of privilege in a way that is responsible, frankly, is like such an important big thing. And in terms of like what you just said, I can't even remember what it was, but I know how it made me feel about I don't want to limit my child's understanding of gender or interpretation of gender or force gender roles and gender norms upon him. But on the flip side, like, you can't be gender blind in that regard, right? Like, he has to understand you're walking in there already, like, 10 steps ahead of so many people just because of the fact that you're a good looking guy from a background of privilege. Already at age 8, you see it, right? Like, and we know it from the statistics of studying children of color, the statistics of studying differences in, male and female children, and then getting into the whole spectrum of non-binary children and what they face, that responsibility to recognize how important it is to, as a parent, play that role.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like, we can only ask teachers to do so much. Like, holy cow,
my
y'all.
goodness.
Like,
Yeah, and we realized that during the pandemic. That came front and center. That came front and center during the pandemic.
The number of times I texted his teacher, Valerie, I love you. Thank you. You'll never watch this because you don't watch YouTube videos. I know this, but Valerie Brooks at Montessori Children's Hospital Lansing is a saint. And the number of times I texted her and was just like, thank you.
Yeah.
She made me a better parent, but more importantly, she made me a better person.
Right.
She parented all of us.
Right.
Teachers were parenting parents during that.
Absolutely.
And thank God.
Thank goodness we have them.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what I would have done without her. I'm not going to lie. Okay. We're going to do our next segment. Okay.
You're ready.
That one's not exciting.
It out of
I know. Literally drawing the
We
question.
had a hat initially, and then we forgot the hat. So we went to the vase to be fancy.
Very cute. Very cute.
All right. I'm going to do this one. So, yes. We, last season, tried to do 5 questions, and we only ever got through, like, one of them.
Yeah.
So, this season, instead, we put 5 questions into our vase of knowledge. And we're supposed to just pull one out, but I just specifically want to know.
I noticed you were doing
I
that.
did too.
This is the first time I've done that.
It was.
For the record. If these air out of sequence, this is hopefully the only time I'll do this. But here's our question for you today. How would you challenge other people? I feel it's relevant to our recent dialogue. How would you challenge other people to drive gender equity in the workforce? We know we're all busting ass, but like, what can we ask other people to do to drive gender equity in the workforce?
I don't think we've asked this question either.
I don't know, but
I don't think so.
I
not
wanted
yet.
to hear these answers.
Yeah.
Selfishly.
Oh, you looked like you had something.
Oh, I always have something.
That's why we knew you'd be amazing.
Yeah. So, gender equity in the workplace. We have come a long way, but we have a long way to go.
Long
Agreed.
way to go.
So far.
And there's just so many opportunities, and it has to start at the top and then waterfall its way down. So I've said I go back decades in the workplace, so I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, a lot of experiences. I think this is an opportunity today. 2024 is an opportunity for more of gender neutrality, and we make that word to be a very big concept, but it can be really, really simple. So when I started in the workforce, a lot of times most of the time I will say, I ended up in organizations, in positions, on teams, in meetings, where I was not only the only female, but I was the only minority. I was the only Black in the room. And so there, I said it doesn't have to be a big concept because sort of the biases, whether it was because I was a female or because there were assumptions made because of my culture. They were pretty prevalent. But some of the things, just I was thinking about as I sat into the meetings where maybe I was the only female. When it came down for someone, who's going to document what happened in the meeting today?
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guess who was
You need to
chosen?
take the notes.
Yeah. Right.
Seriously.
Put on you.
Take the notes.
Or there's an event or a meeting to be scheduled. Now, mind you, we're all the same level. We're all the same classification. I'm in state government, so everything's a classification. But the female in the room, and you do better when you know to do better.
Mhm.
And so just a knowledge of, and I'm going to say that when that happened, I'm going to provide the benefit of the doubt. Oftentimes, nothing was really meant of it,
But you felt it.
but
Yeah.
I felt it.
Yep.
So I just think there's an opportunity of just a level of sensitivity. We're talking about women in the workforce, but Kate, you've mentioned about a number of different underrepresented populations, opportunity populations. A new phrase I learned when I was in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago. It really stuck with me. To just have that level of sensitivity. And, the last few years have really brought out major faux pas or mistakes that we've made. But oftentimes, it's the subtle things. It's the subtle things. It really is the subtle things. So I think that's really an opportunity, and I would encourage workplaces and organizations to really just start small and then grow. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. You just have to keep working on it. Early in my career, as we're talking about women, I, on one of my first initial jobs, of course, I was pregnant with my second daughter. And so, very horrible. I just had a rough time. I ended up being bedridden for 6 months.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
6 months.
Marsha.
So, and there were health challenges because of that. So, worried about my health, worried about my baby, and gender inequity.
Yeah.
So, when I had to take several months off work, literally, my job was threatened.
Sure.
Yep.
I was told that when I came back, that I may not have the same job. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Right.
And so I sent my husband in. I said, pack up all my stuff, put it in a box, and bring it home to let them know that I'm not going to be intimidated by that statement. So I had for the 6 months, everything on my desk was at my house. But again, if a man had to be off for several months, would that same thing have happened? No. So I think there's just opportunity, and hopefully we have advanced from that. Again, starts at the small, and then you really progress to some of the more blatant, inequities.
It's funny you say that very minute detail. I was recently at a setting, and there was a speaker, and the speaker goes, "You women will like this. Therapy."
Oh.
And I thought, that's how you're starting it. So already you're starting it incorrectly, and you're equating a gender with therapy.
Right.
Like, that to me, and you're speaking in front of business professionals.
Right. Professionals.
That tells me how far there still is to go, because it was one small statement, but as a woman in the audience, it sure stuck with me. And that's about the only thing I took back from that conversation.
Yeah, you had tuned out otherwise.
I was like, you wouldn't believe this.
Oh, gosh.
But I mean, in this day and age, we're 2024, and you're still making statements like that based on gender. Come on.
Yeah, the feminist rage just like clouds the vision, and you black out for like 15 minutes.
And then I thought maybe I should give feedback, because maybe let's look at, maybe the intention was not to do that or to do harm. Let's maybe I look at addressing that and giving some thoughtful feedback to the person who organized it, because I would want to hear that feedback.
Yeah, that's
so. After I got through my rage and it's like, hey, what can I do to maybe cause some change here with this?
Exactly.
Right? So just like you said, those small and big, those small things can become big things if we don't address them sometimes. I saw your face too, Nyshell. Did you have some thoughts?
So just to like what you were saying, a lot of times we do have to measure that intention versus impact, right? And so while I didn't mean to step on your foot, right? But it's still important for me to acknowledge that this happened and that I hurt you.
Yeah.
And so even when you were talking about, I know we're talking about like gender as a whole, but we have to keep creating spaces for all of the intersections, right? Because I'm a woman, but I'm not just a woman. So when I walk in a room, you're going to notice a couple things about me. You're going to know that I'm a woman, but you're also going to know that I'm a Black woman, right? And so there are things that come along with that, right? And how, like you were talking about, perhaps being the only Black person in the room or the only woman in the room, right? But you can't separate that being that person of color from also being a woman. It's a package deal. They all come together. So we have to keep creating spaces where all of those intersections can fit without the expectation of me separating it for whatever reason. And so when starting Socialight Society, something that I heard all the time was, you are so brave for leading with your culture and leading with your gender, because we talk a lot about Black women this and Black women that, because I'm going to keep saying it because I don't have time for you to be uncomfortable about it, right? It is what it is. I don't get to be uncomfortable.
I love that statement.
I don't get to be uncomfortable. Like, this is my life. This is where I live. And so I'm not going to be quiet about it in the same ways that folks are loud about their preferences or what they think. And so, our store is located inside of the Lansing Mall. And I don't know if people know, when they're walking in the hallway, I can hear the things that they're saying. I can hear. Right? And, sometimes, it's like, oh, there's a bookstore in the mall. Like, that's so cool, But then I hear things like, oh, it's a DEI bookstore. Oh. Right? And so I don't know if everyone is aware of this, but DEI has kind of become
buzzy.
The new N-word, right? And so, you hear these things as people are, I don't know, it's not going to make me back down, because at the end of the day, I can't take off being Black and I can't take off being a woman. I've had people walk in and they say, oh, this isn't one of those feminist bookstores, is it?
Oh, God.
Well, y'all, I'm a female, so, So there has to be space for us to be able to come in with all of our things, no matter what they are, right? This isn't something that I asked for. None of us said I want to be born a woman. We came as women. This is something that we have. And so we're in the workforce. So there has to be room made for everything that comes along with who it is that we are.
May I comment on something she said? So she says, Nyshell said, I'm not going to be quiet. I love the fact that we even have this space, that we're here all having this conversation. because as I go back decades, and I gave some of the examples that I gave to you all, I didn't feel comfortable having a voice at that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
And you weren't safe to have a voice.
I
at
wasn't
that time.
safe to have a voice. Thank you. I was
You're not.
safe.
I mean, none of us are fully safe now,
Right.
but you
Right.
were far more at risk at that time.
Yeah, and so as we sit in Risky Studios, I'm willing to take that risk today. And so I just appreciate that. But that really struck a chord with me because she says, I am not going to be quiet. And there have been times that I and many other women, they felt like they could not, they weren't safe to say anything.
So true.
We're not safe to say anything. But I will say that even today, you have to try to figure out how you do it.
Yes.
How you do it. Last week, I had the opportunity to moderate a webinar for the Michigan Chamber of Commerce Foundation, and it was on allyship in the workplace. And serving as an ally for someone in the workplace or even in your life. Kate, you talked about that privilege that your son has. Recognizing the privilege. We all have different privileges,
Absolutely.
but recognizing that
Levels, yeah.
privilege, but then be willing to support individuals who don't have the privilege
Exactly.
and literally fight for them
Yes.
that don't have the privilege. That is so important. But in order to do that, you have to be willing to project your voice. You have to be willing to project your voice. So thank you, Nyshell, for saying
And
that.
so that reminds me of a quote from Zora Neale Hurston. And she said, if you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and say that you enjoyed it.
Wow. Wow.
And so we have to be able to speak up,
We do.
even if it's uncomfortable. We have
And
to
you
be
think
able to
about
speak up.
those daughters that you are raising.
Absolutely.
And if we don't use our voices that we have at this point in time, what does that mean for their futures too?
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And what you were saying, Michelle, about the layers of gender and race and sexuality and education and income and geography and environmental racism and oppression and things like that.
All the things.
All the things. It's like each layer you put on, right, is one more weight that is contributing to disparities. When we look at those who face the greatest disparities, they are the people that have the most titles, labels, but also realities burdened upon them. And what you were saying about allyship too is that, what can we challenge people to do? That recognition that no community is a monolith.
Yes.
You don't have time for me to be uncomfortable. And I have to own my discomfort and learn from it on my own time, right?
Yes.
And also be willing to listen. Because in allyship, speak up, use your voice. But also if someone is like, I have got this, little blonde white savior, sit your ass down. I don't need this. But that doesn't mean that the next time it might not be appreciated.
That's right.
that no community is a monolith. Listen, learn, own your own discomfort. It's no one else's responsibility. And that is a challenge that anyone can do the work. And that phrase was real popular a few years ago, and then it went away.
Yeah.
It was a cute hashtag.
Yeah, but it's something that you can literally do every fucking day. Just
Do it.
just do it.
That's another one.
Michelle, I saw you nodding your head a bunch over here as they were speaking. I'm sure you have lots of thoughts on
my
this too.
reflections are interesting. So I was thinking back to me starting in my career. I've always been in the nonprofit sector, and I was always the youngest person in the room, in a room of mostly men, but definitely people who are much more, wisdom and experience than me. And so I had imposter syndrome like you couldn't believe, right? And I went out, and I actually journaled about this not too long ago. I went out and bought 2 suits, and I wore those suits every single solitary day so people would not confuse me with the intern, right? And I'm in a room with very important people and going, I can't believe I'm in this room with these very important people. So I just worked my tail off. I knew from the get-go as a woman that I had to work, a lot harder just to be seen and heard, as you were reflecting on. And then as I got older and had an opportunity to mentor young people, I was very mindful of the fact that I needed to give opportunity to the next generation, because the shifting of our sector was going from white men to white women. And then if we're truly being allies, we want to see people who look like, people you're trying to engage as advocates, right? You want them to see themselves in those people. So, I before maybe it was the thing, I just knew that was something that I needed to do. And I made an effort with interns and then now with AmeriCorps members to make sure that A, they have good mentoring, right? But so B, important. That I have representative diversity of a wide variety of people at our tables. For instance, right now, we've seen less and less young men of color going to college. And they're not seeing college as really possible. So I need to make sure that we have young men of color that are out in our community talking to, juniors and seniors in high school about, you can do this, right? I did it, you can do this. Similarly, we have started some initiatives to focus on students with disabilities, particularly those that may be neurodiverse. Those 2 populations are the least likely to go to, let alone complete, any type of post-secondary degree or credential. So it's important for me to have college advisors that are neurodiverse or have a physical disability so that the kids can see themselves in those same roles. So I'm so, I guess, touched by what you were talking about, allyship. We probably each have different interpretations of what that means, but I think that's really important for us as leaders to understand that our role really is to train the next generation. And that is the legacy that we have. People won't ever remember that I organized an event for 2,000 kids on the state capitol. They won't remember that. I remember that as the best day. It was just the best day, right? Oh, but they will remember is that I continue to mentor and keep in touch with, now hundreds of young people that I've mentored over the years.
And I think that's an important thing, that mentorship component. If I'm a woman sitting at a table and I have the opportunity and privilege of maybe being in a higher role that's been assigned, and I have one of my peers who is from my team who maybe is still learning to become that leader or seeing herself there, it's not just me using my voice, it's creating space too to be offering that opportunity to her as well at the table, right? Absolutely. So I think that's a big part of it too for me from a gender in the workplace is it's not about me. It shouldn't be about me. It's about the people on my team and allowing them to use their voice and to be seen as every bit as important and crucial to those conversations and change.
That's so true. Y'all, I could listen to this for hours, but we have to start to wrap up.
What?
I know, right?
We only did one question.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how this goes. That's why we scrapped 5.
And,
we would have been here for hours.
Yeah. And we even skipped a whole segment.
Because you're so good.
I know. But
we'll have
I
to
was
do
like,
round 2.
No, we're not stopping this conversation. Keep going. Carry on. But eventually we do have to wrap it up. Okay. So as we wrap up this conversation, but hopefully not the conversation as a whole, I'm going to ask each of you to kind of think a little bit about your biggest takeaways from today's conversation, okay? What are either you taking away or what do you hope other people will take away? And try to put that into 3 words. And you know, thinking about that legacy of the dialogue and also how we carry it on. So,
And those 3 words too they can be singular words, they can be a phrase, whatever comes to mind for you too. So while you're thinking about that, I want to just again thank all 3 of you for being guests today with us. Marcia, from the Michigan Energy Workforce Development Consortium, you know how much I adore you, and I am so inspired by you and have been for the entire time we work together. So thank you for joining us.
And the feeling is mutual. Serious.
Nyshell Lawrence from Socialight Society. I am so glad we've had the chance to get acquainted, and I can tell how much of a difference you already are making in this community, and I know that that impact is going to be continued to be felt for so many years. So thank you. Thank you for making a difference.
Thank you.
And Michele Strasz, our Director of Capital Area College Access Network, thank you for all you're doing to prepare the next generation and to show where those opportunities are for all individuals and youth to be able to connect to college so that they have those opportunities ahead of them. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
You're welcome.
and I'm going to do a special thank you today. In addition to y'all on the couch, today with us, we have Ellie Young. She is hiding off camera, but she is the communications assistant for Capital Area Michigan Works. She works with our team at Piper and Gold. And Ellie is the person who every single episode, she makes sure everyone knows where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be. She drafts the script. She finds the awesome facts for the facts and feelings segment that we totally skipped today. Sorry, Ellie.
Next time.
We'll use those in the next season. One less to find. But, she does so much to make this show happen. And we couldn't do it without you. It would be a disorganized mess. And so a huge thanks to Ellie Young, student at Michigan State University, and just doing a really, really phenomenal job. And we couldn't do it without her, furthering that legacy of women in the workforce. Ellie, you rock. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yay.
Yay, Ellie.
Okay, so you have three words.
My 3 words: empower, lift up. Those are my 2 words, or well, they're kind of 3, I guess. A word and a compound thought. From each of you today, I heard messages of it's not about just you; it's about us. And so, to me, that was something I'm carrying away from me: is we can empower the next generation and those others around us, and we can lift each other up. So, how about you, Kate? I'm always curious what yours are going to be.
Yeah, my 3 words, I have to be honest, like usually 3 words like really jump out to me, or I like write something down really early in the episode. And this time around, I'm struggling to pull out one thing, which is why my 3 words are actually going to be sit with it. Because like there's just so much good conversation that happened today and things that, like sometimes it's okay to not know right away and to just like sit with that. So those are my 3 words for today. I'm just going to sit with some of the like just really good information, good camaraderie, great support, important conversation.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, Michele, let's start with you.
Yeah. So I really loved what you said about allyship. So I'll start with that, and coupled with mentorship, because I think that's really important for us as women to mentor other women or other young people. And then lastly, authenticity. It's hard to be authentic sometimes when you're a woman in the workforce because, you have to sometimes suppress the tears or whatever to be seen as professional or credible or whatever. So.
Marcia, how about you?
So my 3 words is a phrase, and it's true to yourself. Yourself, that's just one word.
That's
And you're wondering, really?
We're not gonna grammar police here,
True
right?
to yourself. The conversation that we have had today is really about being who we are,
Mhm.
being our best selves, and not having to conform, not having to abandon our goals, our dreams. I think Nyshell mentioned our dreams, and really staying true to who we are. And you can do that in any career. Michele has talked about, being prepared for college and post-secondary college or post-secondary education, or if you want to be an entrepreneur, be true to yourself.
Yep.
Be true to yourself.
I love that. Michele, how about to round us out? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my 3 words are use your voice. And so whether you are a person of privilege, use your voice to speak up for somebody else. If, for whatever reason you are marginalized or feel like you're on the sidelines, you can use your voice through your work. There are so many ways that we can speak up and show up, and it's not always about like being on a loud microphone, right? It could be subtle ways
So true.
for you to be able to use your voice. So that's what I'm taking from this.
Love it. Snaps.
So, on that note, I am Carrie Rosingana. I am the CEO of Capital Area Michigan Works. And thanks again, ladies, for joining us today. And thank you to everyone who listened in. We hope that you feel like you are empowered and impacted by the statements that were shared today just as much as I know I have been.
Absolutely. Big conversation. I'm Kate Snyder and happy to be a part of this. I'm the CEO of Piper & Gold Public Relations in Lansing, and we cannot wait to welcome another group of wonderful leaders to the couch for more amazing women in workforce conversation. Thanks.